Hey guys, it's Ninja Bubble 100 and today I'm going to be doing a review on this month's Game for Gold game, which is Sniper Elite 2. So in this review I'm going to name 4 different aspects as well as maybe a couple other things. I'm going to talk about the quality, the single player, the multiplayer aspect, and who I'd recommend it to and whether it is actually worth it. And maybe thinking, well, this is a free game, of course it's worth it. Well, sometimes it's not worth it in terms of wasting your time. So that's kind of the point I'm going to be getting across partly in this video as well. So stay tuned for all of those different aspects, and I'll begin with the single player. So I'll begin with the kind of overall beginning of the plot, as I don't want to spoil it for you. So the main character is Lieutenant Carl Fairborn, who is a German-American OSS officer and skilled sniper, hence the name Sniper Elite, who is inserted into Berlin in 1945 during the final days of World War II. The plot then goes on to make you assassinate and kill multiple kind of like head commanders and things like that, and then takes you on basically all around the country to basically stop the development of the ballistic missile called the V2. It is a fairly simple plot, and there are a couple twists and turns and plot twists and things like that, and what basically glues it together really well, I believe, are the cutscenes. These cutscenes help glue together the really historical side of this game, which is actually set in World War II, as I previously mentioned. And the game is actually quite good in that aspect, but there are a couple things which I will refer to by the end of this review, which may kind of falter your kind of thoughts on this game so far. So one of these like nifty little things is actually a cutscene where whenever you shoot with a sniper rifle, and it actually turns out to be a kill, and it is also like a successful one, and it goes through any kind of like organs, then it will actually show a small cutscene in slow-mo of the bullet actually ripping through the person you shot, which is actually pretty interesting and adds to the intensity of the kill. And now onto the multiplayer aspect of the game. After going ahead and just kind of downloading all the kind of required downloadable content I needed to play some multiplayer, I went on the multiplayer and on the co-op kind of side of things and got a feel of both kind of game modes. And I went ahead and played a couple matches, and I considered what I thought was good and what was bad. So one of the bad things I thought about it was the fact that it's quite rigid. So for me, I just felt like there wasn't really much room for strategy and really many vantage spots. It kind of felt like it was all like kind of centered, all the attention was centered into one place, and there was nowhere surrounding that place that you could kind of go to. And the fact that this is kind of like a strategy game and a sniping game, obviously, means that it's kind of a bit weird. It doesn't really make sense in that aspect. For it to not really have much strategy. Of course there are obviously the main kind of parts, but it's all like a bowl. It's all centered into one place for a lot of it, and that means that there's not much flexibility to it, like I mentioned before. As well as that, one thing I also found with the kind of multiplayer servers was that there weren't really many people on it, which meant it was quite difficult to actually find many kind of like servers for me to play on easily, and people that were actually willing to be like do it properly, and people with enough skill to do it. And a lot of the time we ended up just dying easily. This is either because their skill level and they don't understand it quite so well, or they're a noob kind of like me, or purely because, well, they just don't feel like it, or something else. So I find like it's partly to do with the players and partly to do with the actual game itself being too rigid and just not much flexibility, and the players themselves. However, I don't really want to be laying the blame on either one of them, so it could purely be the mix of both of them. And now I'm going to move on to the quality And is it worth it? So let's begin with the quality. The quality of this game is actually surprisingly high for a Games for Gold game. Let's just be honest, if it's a free game, it must be a bad one. That's what we all kind of think about. But actually, this one, being Sniper Elite version 2, is actually pretty good quality. It was released in 2012, and the graphics aren't actually too bad. I have to say the controls can be quite difficult to use at sometimes, and there are some times when I get really confused at what actually happens, but most of the time it's pretty self-explanatory and it is quite simple to operate this game. So the graphics are actually quite good for a free game, and the multiplayer aspect of the game isn't actually that great, but however the single player campaign is actually pretty good up to the point I've played to. Furthermore, that leaves us with the question, is it worth it? However, seeing as games are subjective and it's kind of your opinion whether you like a game or not, and things you like basically, it's all your opinion. So I'm not going to mark this game out of like 5 or 10 or anything like that. I'm just going to say who I'd recommend it to, and just talk about who will enjoy it basically. Personally though, I believe this game to be, I think, definitely worth it. There's a lot of kind of opportunities and flexibility to the game, not so much in the multiplayer aspect, but the single player aspect. And if you're the kind of person who's kind of like a cheapskate in a way, who doesn't enjoy like buying games so much, like the new games, but enjoy just kind of chilling and as a casual gamer in a way and enjoy the history side of things, I'd strongly recommend this game to them, purely because it's free and it's still kind of got a multiplayer aspect, so if you want to play with friends, that's awesome. And it's also got a good single player which will occupy many hours if you're a casual gamer, and I think it just works for you. And it's not too serious, but it's not too kind of light so you get lost in it or anything like that, and it just works well if you're kind of casual towards gaming. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video, and if you have any pending questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, because I'll try to answer them as soon as possible and as simply as possible. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this video and have gotten what you had intended to get from this video, feel free to like this and subscribe if you want to see more in the future, because it's always appreciated and it shows your support. So thanks so much for watching, and Ninja Bubble 100 out.